this octopus yet. I'm talking here.
Hello, every person. Steve Rizzo here. Welcome to Hey, I'm Talking Here. Talking Here. We have a good show for you today. We actually have a good show for you all the time. It's called The Act of Forgiveness, which just came to me at the last second before I sent it to my director and producer, Bruce, and everyone else. And because I think a lot of people have a misconception of what it's all about. A lot of people carry a lot of guilt, a lot of anger with them their whole lives, not realizing that some of the wise things to do is to let go. And the only way you can let go is to forgive. And having said that, let me just say to you, this show is brought to you by Conversations with Bob, which should be coming up right there. And just so you folks know, I'm working on book 2 more now than I ever was, and it's almost finished. And as a matter of fact, there's a story in book 2 which talks about forgiveness, and where Bob comes in the guise of a cemetery worker next to someone who is praying over their deceased mother and father. And it's a great story. Book 2 is about when Bob comes down to earth in the guise of a different person in every chapter, in every story. And it's a lot of fun writing this too, I have to say. And that's where I got the idea about forgiveness. And right now, what I would like to do is I would like to introduce my team. Mr. Eric Bam cannot be on the show because I think he has a graduation. His daughter or someone is graduating, and so he can't be on the show. But we do have my director and my producer, Mr. Bruce Mann, who there he is. What up?
Nothing much.
Cool.
Went to our local botanic gardens today and learned how to pot plants.
You grew pot plants? What was that?
No, we potted plants.
Oh, you potted plants.
Yeah, I was waiting for your response to that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, when I was young, when I was living with my friends, when I was going to college, we grew pot plants in the closet. What we did was that we got the aluminum foil and we aluminum foiled the walls in the closet. Okay. Because it reflects light and heat big time. And then we got these grow lux bulbs, and we would close the closet, and these things grew huge, big. We had them in every closet in the house. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, when I went to school, disco was dying, so we were just at the tail end of disco.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So but the drinking age was 18.
Long time ago that was.
Yep.
Well, the drinking age for me was 16, so I was going to bars when I was 16 years old.
Yeah, you didn't have any laws. You just take whatever is available in the liquor cabinet, right?
Yeah. No, I get it. Well, that's pretty cool. Let's bring up Debbie right now because I haven't seen her in a while.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying back here. Eric Flanoy said Bruce puts the pot in plants. That's awesome.
I know it's pretty funny. I know.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, it's so good to be here. We've missed a few weeks.
Hi, Lori. Good evening to you also. Yeah, and I apologize, but I've been so busy. And you know what I'm going to do next time, Deb? But I think this is a really good idea. And Eric brought it up too. If I can't do the show, I'm just going to have you guys do it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, right.
Why not? I'm not sure you want to trust the show to us.
I don't know. I think
we will take it off the rails.
What do you mean? You could.
I think we need our comic relief leader. I don't think that we could do it without you. It'd be really weird. And by the way, he says he apologizes for missing a few weeks, and we're trying to decide if we're going to forgive you. Get it?
I get it. Sort of like
I got it.
It's sort of like with the title is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, it actually worked out because by having by adjusting the shows, next week is my anniversary, so I don't have to do a show next Thursday. But the week after, we're doing a show.
How many years? And what anniversary of what? Marriage?
Marriage.
Aw, congrats.
60 years.
How many?
60.
No. No. That's not. What are you doing?
Come on, it's not even. That's ridiculous.
No. You haven't been married 60 years.
I'm,
You're not that old. You're not old now. Would you get married when you were in the womb?
There you go.
you take this woman to be your wife? Huh?
I can't. My ears aren't fully formed yet. What'd you say?
Huh?
That's funny.
No, so it's like I think we've spent more years together than we have apart.
No. Well, congrats. That's amazing. Next week.
Yep.
I'm reading what some of the comments are here. Yeah.
Cool.
Aw.
I don't put my name in the shindig. Some folks, yeah. So Eric's name is actually showing up on this.
Good.
I can't believe you used the word shindig.
Yeah.
Born
Jeez.
married.
Yeah, he was born married.
I was born
Oh,
married.
that's nice, Laurie.
I was born saying yes, dear.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about. I didn't know if I should use this as a title today, but I just, I go to my favorite restaurant, Francesco's, and I sit there, and there are a lot of bitter people, a lot of angry people. I love
Yeah.
these people. And if they're watching, I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I hear people saying, I'll never forgive him for what he did. I'll never forgive her. And, how could I after she did this? And I think when it comes to forgiveness, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of advantages and disadvantages.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people do things, but they do it because it's not really them that's doing it. And you have to. My favorite saying always was, "Walk a mile in my shoes." And I think if we could all do that, if we could walk in people's shoes, what that saying means is that, wow, you could actually feel and understand where this person's coming from. You could
Mm-hmm.
feel their pain. You could feel the shit that they went through in their life. And if
Yeah.
you could do that for a week, just walk in there, you would see the fear, the anger, why they respond the way they do, and why they did whatever it was they did to you. And if you can do that, that's an awakening. That's an awakening, and that's a lesson learned. And you would automatically understand it's about compassion. Do you agree with that? It's about compassion.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people also say they forgive or they're trying to understand, but then they really don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll say, I forgive you, but then they either continue to bring it up or they hold resentment. Is forgiveness completely letting it go? And if it
Yes.
is,
Yes.
then many, many times people say they have forgiven someone when they really have not.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
A lot of times, people will make an excuse or explain what happened, and then they'll keep going and digging even further. Like, okay, yeah, I forgive you, but
Mm.
and then it's like, but then it turns out you really didn't forgive them because
well, that's a good point. Yeah. There's no but. The only but is the one you're sitting on. There's no
Mhm.
buts when it comes to forgiveness. And you know what it is? It's people are afraid to let go. They and you hear people say, "Well, I have a right to be angry at him. I have a right not to forgive him after what he did." And you might have a right if you want to look at it from that perspective, but you also have a right to the upset stomachs you're going to have for your whole life, the migraine headaches, the fact that you're going to feel uneasy all the time because apparently you're still reliving what that person did to you. And you don't do it for that person necessarily. You're doing it for yourself. When you forgive
That's what I
someone,
was just gonna say.
right? Go ahead, continue then.
Yeah, no,
let
I
'em
just
go.
so agree that if you truly let something go and you forgive someone, then that weight of the anger or resentment is lifted. And so if you feel that release and you feel good about, I'm giving this up, I'm going to let it go, because it doesn't mean, okay, let's talk about this though. It doesn't mean you forget and it's like, it's okay. If someone did something really wrong to you and it was hurtful, then I don't believe that you have to say, I don't know, it's like it never happened. No, because we're learning from that, right? And we understand that, ooh, this is a behavior that this person can put out. But yet, if you forgive them for what they've done, then you don't continue to throw it up in their face and you don't allow it to eat at you where you're If you have a little second and all of a sudden it pops back in your head, if you really let it go and release that, then I believe that's true forgiveness. And then the other person will feel it as well. But you don't have to forget what was done. And sometimes in life, you can forgive someone, but then you create a boundary and you protect yourself in that way. It doesn't mean you don't care and that you haven't forgiven them. It just simply means
you don't have to hang out with them anymore.
You have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have Lisa Perna, Touched by Prayer. She's on right now.
Oh, hey, Lisa.
Yep.
Withholding forgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's the other part of forgiveness, forgiving ourselves. Forgiving ourselves.
That's even more difficult.
Yeah. And Debbie, when I went through my divorce, I'm being very vulnerable here. My wife is a wonderful person, the best person I've known. And I had a hard time. With making that decision. And I went through years, that's how I wrote the book, Conversations with Bob.
Yeah.
I was going out of my mind with this. How could I do this? And the fact that I hurt her as much as I did, I had a hard time forgiving myself.
Yeah.
And it took years for me to realize you did the right thing. And sometimes doing the right thing can be the most painful thing. I told you that you could ever do, even if it means that you're hurting someone.
A lot of times it's worse. Yeah. A lot of times it's worse. If you really love and care for somebody.
Yeah.
And you've hurt them. Wow. That's awful. You don't want to do that when learning that, to forgive yourself. My sister actually just typed in, sometimes you also have to learn to forgive yourself, as you were saying it, Steve. She had said that. So that's really tough. I think it's more difficult sometimes. I think we're tougher on ourselves a lot of times than we are other people.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you don't forgive yourself, that turns into guilt, and guilt will kill you. And I had a very close friend of mine tell me, you're killing yourself. You're killing yourself. It's stifling your authenticity. It's stifling your creativity. You have to let it go. And the only way you can let it go is to confront that person and let them know, even if it means pouring your heart out, you have to let that person know that what you did, it wasn't done. I'm not even talking about me right now. I'm talking about just in general. If you hurt someone, you have to be able to come to the realization that you have to apologize. And you have to say that what I did was wrong. And by doing that, you're forgiving yourself. You're letting it go.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that person's going to forgive you.
Right.
But that's okay. That's okay. You've let it go on your end.
Ooh,
and eventually, perhaps that person will.
That's
You've let it go.
Really good point.
Yeah. Some people would rather hold on to the fear, to the anger, to the overwhelm, to be right. And it's not about, as I said, it's not about right or wrong. It's about advantages and disadvantages, because that comes back to eat you up mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. It sucks the energy right out of you.
You know what you said earlier, and let's expand on this a little bit more, is that walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Which is meaning you really don't know how someone is feeling or living their life until you jump in their shoes, which you can't. But empathy and being, empathetic to other people and trying to at least listen to the person, because just like I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Just because you're able to get through something and it's not a big deal for you, the same identical thing could happen to someone else and they would fall apart. So for us to say, well, she shouldn't be mad about that because I wouldn't be. Well, no, you're not them and they're not you. So you try, and I try to understand where someone else is coming from, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense to me. Try to just be compassionate and listen and understand this person's hurting or this is what's happened. Okay, let's acknowledge it and communicate, and hopefully we can get through it.
Yep. Let's understand why the person did what they did. And people have a tendency to do that with their siblings, with their mother and father. my father never did this, they say, my mother never did that. And I think one of the greatest gift, if not the greatest gift that God ever gave me, was my ability, even as a young person, to feel somebody's feelings. I was always able to understand why my father got as angry as he did, as sensitive as I was as a kid, and how it used to overwhelm me. There was always something within me that knew it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And then when I got older and I had discussions with my father on how he was treated by his father, tears, unbelievable. And all of a sudden, when you hear that, you go, no wonder he responded to situations like that. He couldn't respond any other way. It's the only thing he knew.
It's the only
Your
thing
parents can only do for you from what they learned in their lifetime. And that's why some of them are abusive. And again, you can't look at it from right and wrong. You got to look at it as to why. And if you can understand the why, that puts you on that platform where you're at the beginning process of forgiving. And if you can understand that that person went through shit, you know, I love
Lisa. We know you didn't mean the last word he said. It was everything he said before that.
Lisa, by the way, this is not a coincidence. We're going to have you on the next show. We got to have Lisa on the next show. Yeah,
I love her.
And we're going to read the comments a little bit, folks. We're not ignoring you. It's just that we're involved in this. But forgiveness is a key to getting closer to God. It's a release, and the gratitude that you feel once you do that, you could feel it from the very core of who you are when you start letting go of guilt and forgiveness, because they're akin, they're synonymous with one another. And my mom, the same thing. My mom I'm not going to tell you the abuse that she went through and my father went through, but it was intense. It was intense. And if you look at it from that perspective, the job that they did with my brothers and my sister and myself was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. There just was a lot of fear. There was and they couldn't help it.
Yeah.
It's the way they were raised.
But then they stepped it up as much as they could to try to break that. And then you guys are better. And that's awesome that you also recognize that. But, when you get to the point, and it's so difficult as human beings, and I know, Steve, I think you're better at it. And Bruce, I want to know what you think. But being able to say you're sorry to somebody and really mean it, because the other person will know if it's BS. Let's just be real. If you're just like, well, I'm sorry. Or if it's like, I am so sorry. I would never hurt you. First of all, if it's authentic and if it's true and you feel it, that's a lot. That's a big deal for somebody to apologize genuinely from their heart. That takes a lot of guts to do. And that's them also admitting that they may have made a mistake or they hurt you, even if it's unintentional.
Yeah. And some people, it's more difficult than others.
That's exactly right. Like, I feel like some people can own up and just take accountability easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Notice it more.
But the more difficult it is for that person, when they do it, the greater the release. It really is. It's almost like, what happened to me? I feel like this weight is off my shoulder, because you actually from here, not from here, you came from here, the core of who you are. And you said, I am sorry. I don't know how else to say this. I was wrong. It was wrong. And ask for forgiveness. And if the person can't, you let that person know from the bottom of your heart that I'm letting it go.
Yeah.
I'm letting it go.
And it's probably more important to do it in person than in a text or an email.
Oh my God. Yeah, please. Oh, please. I said, I'm sorry.
And you can't, in a text or an email, you really can't get the feel of the tone behind the words that are typed. You have to say it. And, I agree with that, Bruce.
Just an emoji, just like 5 emojis and you're all set.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. That I can take.
There's my emotion right there.
Even forgiving yourself in life for mistakes that you made. Do you know what I mean? Just mistakes that you made. You did.
Right, right. Not necessarily. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not
Not towards
affecting
someone
anyone
else.
else. It bothered you.
Yeah.
My brother Michael, and I know you guys know I learned so much from him. It was maybe not even a week before he passed away. And I sat down next to him and I had to ask him this question. And I didn't know how he was going to respond. And he's getting closer to passing on. And I know this is Mike, I got to ask you. And I grabbed his hand. I said, how were you able to deal with being wounded in the Vietnam War, a war that we shouldn't have been in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And not only were you guys not honored when you came home, you were ridiculed.
Right.
And how were you able to put that aside? You couldn't even say, I got wounded for my country, because everyone admitted, history proved that it was a war that we should not have been in at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, and he took a deep breath, and I didn't know how he was going to respond. And he grabbed onto my hand tighter and he goes, that's the question that I was always waiting that someone was going to ask me. And I'm so glad you did. And this is the answer he gave. He said, I am not a fortune teller. I didn't have a crystal ball.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19 years old. I honestly believed from the bottom of my heart at that moment in time that my country needed me. They were asking for volunteers. And I joined the toughest military branch that you could, and the Marines is one of them. And he said, and I got wounded, and I'm 100% disabled. But the thing is, once I got wounded, and history proved to me, and it wasn't too soon after that I should not have been in the war, he goes, I was faced with another choice.
Mm-hmm.
I could either become the victim and blame my country and blame everyone else for what happened to me and not forgive myself and berate myself for being an idiot for making a mistake like this, or I could realize that I'm faced with a whole set of other choices. And what can I do from this point on with what I have? And what kind of a life can I live as a result? That's how he was able to let it go.
It's perspective.
Said, that's the way you have to do it.
Yeah.
In that moment in time, he did the right thing. He didn't know it was going to be the wrong thing. That's happened to so many people in business decisions. You go to do it, you're all gung-ho, and all of a sudden it doesn't work out. So what are you going to do? You're going to tank? You're going to blame people? You're going to go down and never come up again? Or are you going to say, I have other choices here? What do I do from this?
This is really good. This is really good, because saying, forgiving yourself, but forgiving yourself for what you've done to your own self. Like, I didn't even think of, like, that is really good. Like, even like you said, if it's a business decision, you invest a bunch of money and then you lose it.
Yep.
And you're like, oh my, all of that. But,
Yeah. And he had friends who were wounded in that same battle that he was in, that he knew very well.
Yeah.
And they went the other way. They blamed the country. Yeah. They were angry as a result. They became alcoholics. They became drug addicts. Yeah. They just went the other way. They couldn't handle what this country did to them.
Yeah.
And became very bitter. He let it go and became an incredible success.
Right. Way more he achieved after the fact.
Yeah.
Than what he ever thought he could achieve prior to the injuries.
Yeah.
And we discussed this on previous shows, which is attitude and how you outlook.
Yeah. Your whole life is based on choices, Bruce. No matter what happens to you. And for every choice that you make, there is always a consequence.
Yeah.
Where you are, everyone that's listening, where you are at this point in your life is based on choices that you made at some point in the past. Those choices are the key factors that determine the quality of life that you have right now. If you're going to go on, and I'm not preaching here, and it may sound like it to some people, but I'm telling you, this is the hard truth. Mm-hmm. You can go on your whole life and say that person deserves to me to be angry at them forever, but you're hurting yourself, you're hurting the person, you're hurting the universal scheme of things. We're all connected somehow, some way. Your hurt is going to be hurting other people in some way. You may not realize it,
Yeah,
But
you're
holding on to that because your family feels it. Your friends feel it.
Pastor Steve. Lisa, can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Yeah, well, when you say, I'm going to stay mad at this person forever, I'm not going to forgive them, I'm not going to whatever. I mean, there's been some horrible things happen to people.
Yeah.
I mean, horrible, horrible things happen to people. And they may hear people say, you got to let it go for you. And they may say, you're nuts. Like, you haven't had this happen to you. What happened to me? I will never forgive that person.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't mean you're going to hang out with them and you're going to have a relationship with them. It just means you hurt people, hurt people. We've talked about this on the show so many times. Hurt people, hurt people. They're hurt. Whatever their reasons, I forgive you and I'm letting you go and I'm letting the anger go and I'm going to move on with my life. Words and feelings and all of that is so powerful. And our energy, people feel that when we're holding on to stuff, hatred, anger, non-forgiving thoughts toward others, and you meet people feel that negative energy from you. They just do.
You could hear them. You could hear the tone in them. They're cynical about everything. That one thing that they're angry about, that parent or their sibling or their friend, whatever it was they did, they hold on to it, and it comes out in other facets of their lives at work.
It does, because then 9 times out of 10, not everybody that doesn't forgive someone, they're off. Every group that they're around will know because they're talking badly about the person that they don't want to forgive. And it's like you're constantly rehashing it and it just wounds you more. When you really truly let something go. And we all have stuff that we probably hang on to a little longer than we should. And we got to work that through. We're not perfect human beings, but if you know better, you can do better. So I think this show is about understanding, knowing better so we can all do better.
Yeah, very well said. Again, I'll say it again. I think this is the 4th time I'm saying it. It's not about right and wrong. It's about advantages and disadvantages. The advantage for you and the rest of your life. My every time I got angry at somebody for something that they did, and I was screwed out of this break in my comedy career, and my wife would just walk by me and she'd go, "Let it go, Louie. Let it go." That was her greatest line. She always called me Louie when I was pissed off. And she'd tap me on the head and go, "Let it go, Louie. Let it go. You're holding on to it." And you do let go and let Bob.
Oh my gosh. So where was this? I was going to read.
Unforgiveness causes sickness, depression, anger, bitterness, pain, etc. You got it, Lise. What was that? Debbie?
Well, okay. So this gorgeous book I have here with me, Conversations with Bob.
I love that.
When you just said, "Oh, hello, Debbie, how you doing?" You just were talking about, are you the type of person you're letting things eat you up and it's tearing you down and you're choosing to think that, well, listen to what Bob says here. Stop and ask yourself, are my beliefs writing a story of abundance and joy? Or are they writing a story of scarcity and despair? Because the words that we use and our feelings and our thoughts will determine our future. So we got to get in there and stop those negative thoughts, even if it's towards someone else or ourselves. I'm on a diet. I'm going to exercise every day. And then you sleep in and then you eat a brownie and then you want to beat yourself up. And I can't, I'm just constantly, try better tomorrow.
Exactly. Because as Bob says to Bernie in the book, your beliefs write the story of your life.
Your beliefs write the story of your life.
Yep. If you have an addiction.
Oh, look who's here. Doug Wayne.
From the Philippines. Hey.
Wow.
Doug, man, how you doing, my friend?
Awesome to see you here. Hello, Kellen Ann.
It's Kellen Ann.
Boom.
Yeah, Lisa, we're going to have you on the next show. We'll figure it out what the title will be. You know why Lisa said Pastor Steve?
Because you were preaching.
I talked to her about it, that I thought about becoming a pastor or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I did. She's the only person I talked to her about. That was, I think, not even a year ago. And she said if I wanted to, she would help me, get to that point. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that, but I can't picture that.
You know what? You are so real and genuine. and such a huge heart, and your soul is, I just, and I've said this before, you would be so amazing for the people because you say it like you mean it. Sometimes it comes out with a little swear word here and there,
But that's okay.
but it's a word.
Yeah.
And you mean everything with such amazing intentions that people would love you.
Okay, stop.
I'd go to your church. I'd go.
You'd be the one standing up going, "Can I hear an amen?"
I'd be in the front row. Yes, give it to us, Pastor Steve. This is exactly what we need here. I'm going to step out of this place.
My brothers and my sisters. Talk to you, man.
You may get your. No, we won't be doing that. Bruce, look, you have Bruce grinning.
And it's funny. Lisa popped up. I saw her here, and I was just going to say the greatest forgiveness was when Jesus was on the cross. And he said, wow. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
That makes me cry.
Think about that. Yeah. Think about that. And what he means is they were unconscious. They were not conscious. They didn't know. They didn't know anything. They were so lost in that world of that other dimension, the world of materialism and false beliefs, that they could only do what they thought they had to do. And that's one of the greatest, I think probably the greatest line ever in the history of forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Wow.
Right. And that is so powerful. And to think that you're being crucified and say that, it's just tears your heart out. Like, wow.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
It does.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's good you brought that up, because that is the number one example for forgiveness for sure. Lisa Perner, what you say, but also forgiving them kept back the anger of God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well said, Lisa.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. That's it. Let's read what the Mr. Flournoy said.
Jesus also told a parable with the message being that the one who refuses to forgive won't be forgiven. Ooh, that's a mic dropper. That's right.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, I always say this too. I really try. I'm human, so I have, I do this sometimes, but like judgmental people,
yep.
I always think to myself, ooh, you'll be judged as harshly as you judge others. You better watch that. I'm not. I pull back the reins on judgment. I'm like, no can do.
Well, the biggest judgment is when we judge ourselves.
And that's true.
That's not, you can't do that. You just, you berate yourself for making a mistake. You berate yourself for doing the wrong thing. Your children get in trouble. They get arrested by the police, and then you blame yourself. Where did I go wrong? What could I have done better?
Gosh, that's so true.
It's just, I know it's amazing. And it
is so true, Steve. Gosh, that just made me think of a whole lot of other things. I mean, and when you tie it in, even the forgiveness, which is what the topic is, if you're not forgiving yourself, but God forgives you, who do you think you are not forgiving yourself?
Yeah.
God forgives you. All you have to do is say, forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. And so who do you think you are that you can't forgive other people or yourself?
Yeah. And the thing that made it easier for me and my wife when I got divorced is that she had that ability to walk in my shoes. She knew what I was going through. She got it. Mm-hmm. She got it. She never berated me. She was angry at times, yes, frustrated at times, but in the long run, she knew that I wasn't leaving to hurt anybody. I just had to. There was an authentic part of myself that needed to experience things on my own. I had to leave.
How many years did it take you to forgive yourself?
Just recently.
That's a long time.
Yeah. There were gratifying moments along the way, but to totally let it go just recently, I would say the end of 2022, when I finally just said, you just, and that came about from meditating and praying and having my conversations with Bob, as I always do, whether it's on the beach or whatever it is. The answers, they come in total clarity sometimes.
Bob is God. Bob is God. So it's not a therapist. And the conversations I've had with Bob, that's what's helped me. People are like, who's Bob? His therapist?
That's pretty funny. Yeah, in a way, Bob is the world's greatest therapist, if you think about it. So yeah, but that's why I like the show, and I'm glad we did have this title. I didn't know how it was going to work out. Read what your sister said.
I can't see it. Lisa Perna, need no fishing signs. LOL. I wonder what that means. I don't know what Lisa said. Lisa Perner, need no fishing signs. I don't know what that meant.
He tosses in
he
the sea.
tosses it in the sea of forgetfulness. Then we fish it back out. Yeah.
Yep.
That's so true. Yeah, it's like, oh, you mean we're forgetting? Oh no, we're gonna pull that. We're gonna drudge that back up. Let's go ahead. Let's fry that fish. Let's eat it and keep.
Yeah.
I know, it's so true.
Yeah. So, I think we should wrap this show up. I think this was good because this just, I don't know why it just came out. Let's talk about forgiveness. Oh, okay. Yeah. And just remember,
it's crazy that you picked this because it's something I could use right now. So I appreciate it.
I think we all can, because forgiveness, like I said, is synonymous with guilt. One leads to the other, and you owe it to yourself to let stuff go.
Sure.
Let the guilt go. Let you live your life. Live your life to the fullest. You're going to make mistakes, and just know that. I look at mistakes as do-overs. That's what I tell my grandchildren right now. My granddaughter is dancing now, and she's incredible at what she does, and she's winning medals and everything. And she's gotten to the point now where we say, you did a great job. She goes, no, I made a mistake. I realize that I won't do it again next time. Instead of berating herself and feeling guilty like she disappointed herself, she knows that life is about going full force with what you want to do, knowing that you're going to have setbacks. You can either berate
and then knowing that, and then say, I'll get better, because we do want to continue to grow and get better and learn. I mean, no one's better to talk to than like a great grandparent, because they've lived so much life, and wisdom is a real thing, and they can share some things and different perspectives that we haven't really thought of. It's amazing to talk to a really elderly person that.
And when you're hurting like that, when you're feeling guilt and you're feeling forgiveness, also know that somehow, some way, God always brings people into your life that can bring that light back inside of you. And
if you recognize it 100%.
Yeah, it's there. You have to recognize it, because awareness is the key that will set you free. Because if you go to sleep being unable to forgive or with tons of guilt, it sucks the energy out of you bit by bit by bit every day. And that's why some people have these physical ailments, stomach issues, nervous issues, migraine headaches, all this stuff through the years. And the sad thing is, Deb, they're not aware of what they're doing to themselves. They don't know that they're eating at the core of who they are. There's a light that's trying to shine within them, and they're putting a blanket over it. They're putting a dimmer on it. Because they have held on to the shit. They've held on.
Sometimes it isn't easy. It's difficult to be self-aware enough and to dig deep into your own psyche and your thoughts, your emotions. So it takes work. So but if you're trying, and you will get better, you will get better with it and letting it go.
Forgiveness is like gratitude. It's a discipline. It's a discipline. It has to be work. It's hard to get up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to forgive that person, or I'm going to forgive myself. I'm not going to feel guilty anymore. You got to be aware of you're right. You got to be aware of what it's doing to you. And then you have to say, maybe there is an alternative here, like my brother Michael did. He actually sat down and confronted the core of the problem. I made a decision when I was 19. I thought I was right. I was proud of what I did. I got wounded. Years later, I realized it wasn't the greatest decision in the world, but then it was. Now, he had a choice. He could have condemned himself. He could have berated himself, and he could have stayed a victim. Instead, he became a victor because he learned from it and moved with a whole set of different choices.
And that can be said for anybody who's made or thought they were making a decision based on what was right for them at the time, and then later realized, you know, you got to forgive yourself.
And also, you can also confide in the people in your life who see what you don't see.
That's really good, Bruce.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Words of
So
wisdom.
if you don't see it in yourself, someone else will tell you about it.
That is so true.
Well, I like what Lisa says here. If you don't get healed completely, you can get re-triggered.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Well, that makes total sense.
Well,
that's the same things like every family has that one story. Like 50 years ago, your Aunt Sally did this, and I'm still not forgiving her for that. And every time you get together with her, or every time her name shows up, the person always brings up Aunt Sally about and the incident 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Bruce has an Aunt Sally.
She doesn't deserve to be forgiven, but the thing is that she deserves to let it go for herself. Of
course, Aunt Sally died 10 years ago, and so
now we can talk about it. Oh, Bruce, you're funny.
What does that say? A setback is a setup for a Steve Rizzo comeback. Who said that? I can't see the name.
Mark.
Oh.
Mark Rodriguez.
Hey, Mark.
Setback is a setup for Steve Rizzo comeback. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
There you go. Yeah, you got to be able to forgive yourself. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I learned from them. And I look back now, the biggest mistakes I've ever made, my greatest challenges have become my greatest blessings because I learned from them. That's empowerment. That is total empowerment. There's nothing more empowering than learning from your mistakes, admitting that you screwed up, and then you just go, okay, what do I do now? And you just move forward, trusting the higher part of yourself to guide you through the process.
Yeah,
it's cool. Well, I so much appreciate these wonderful comments. And Lisa, we will connect very soon to have you on the next show. I just got to figure out a good title. And
maybe she'll figure it out.
You know what, Lisa? I'm going to let you.
Hey, Lisa, no pressure.
Yeah, I guess she can get with the topic of judgment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
we ought to have some Judgy Judgersons on here.
You just sounded like that cartoon. Maybe we should have. What happened?
Well, no one knows cartoons.
The little Martian on the Bugs Bunny cartoon. What happened to the kaboom? Oh, an Earth-like creature. You crack me up. I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. Everyone. Lori, thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
Everybody that tuned in. My sister.
And you know what, Bruce? Lori said, so true, Bruce. So true. What do you think of that?
Oh, Bruce, you're getting props on here. People's giving you a shout out. That's amazing. Renee Gordon, great show. Wonderful words of wisdom. Thanks, Renee.
Renee, how are you?
And she's coming in from Debbie's Facebook.
Oh, yay.
Cool.
Nice.
So if you don't find Steve on his channels, you can follow Debbie on hers. And also, Debbie, you can find more about Debbie on debbiesbizcard.com.
Yeah.
And Steve is what? Yourinnerbob.com.
Yourinnerbob.com. That's all about the book. That's where you can purchase the book. You can see excerpts from the book. You can see all kinds of things from the book. And then you can buy the book and write a review about the book.
I love this because the inside, the actual cover is gorgeous. If I can get it off of here. This is
beautiful. I know. Yeah.
No one does that.
That was Bob's idea.
He's genius.
After all those many times that he woke me up in the middle of the night, 7 years it took me to write that book. And about 1:30 to 2, it was always between that time. I had to get up and I'd go, can't we do this when I wake up at a normal time? And I'd go and I'd start writing. And then he told me the idea about the cover of the book. And then when I thought I was finished, he would say, no, you're not. There's a lot more you have to experience. It was insane. And
I love that story too, because, sometimes when you get a message, like if you think of something, you're like, why did I think that?
Yeah.
Maybe you guys, it's a little message from God.
And you know what? I do this now, and I'm going to suggest this to everyone. I love the fact that we were closing the show 3 times, but we're still going. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with my connection when I talk to God or Bob. Deb, I go for walks a lot by myself. I like being by myself a lot. And I'm walking through a park, which is near my house, Gardner Park. And I look at this magnificent tree. It's gorgeous. This was last year, or maybe the year before. And I'm saying, and I'm talking to God. I'm talking to Bob. I'm going, you did a great job on this. This is absolutely beautiful. And the tree actually did something to me. It was gorgeous. And I'm studying it. And then all of a sudden, I took out my phone and I go to take a picture. And I hear within me, you're kidding me, right? And I went, what? And he said, this is what Bob said to me.
Your inner dialogue.
He goes, you're experiencing an incredible moment and you're thanking me. And now you're distorting that moment so you can take a picture of what you were in awe about so you could save it for sometime in the future, totally voiding the experience that you were just feeling. Put the phone down and get back to where you are. And I just went, okay. And I put the phone down. I experienced it. And then I said, can I take a photo now? I did my Archie Bunker. Oh, geez, how about now, dear? Huh? And it wasn't a voice. It was something within me that said, no, what are you doing? But that's how God talks to you. That's how Bob was talking to me. And I put the phone down and it was right. I was experienced.
Is that a vine? Where you could have Tarzaned off of that thing. It looks like a vine hanging down, no?
Yeah, I know. The trees in Gardner Park.
Oh, is this for you? This is what you saw today?
No, I'm just pulling it up. This is a photo from, were you there in 2022? Because this is a picture from 2022.
Yeah, I was there in 2022. That wasn't the tree because this tree looks like, that's not the tree. This tree was gorgeous. It was old. It looked majestic. It just looked like it didn't belong in Gardner Park. And that's why I was, enough about the tree.
Did it look like the tree in Pocahontas? Oh, remember that one? Yeah. Where it comes alive and it talks to her?
No, it did. Look, I'm not that crazy. The tree did not talk to me.
Well, I'm wondering.
There's a
Could you imagine that
song from Paint Your Wagon?
Hey, Stevie.
Well, then now we're getting back to the earlier part of the show where Bruce was putting pots in the plants.
Pot in the plants.
Exactly. That's when you start seeing the tree talk to you.
Yeah. What did Lisa say? Waking up at 2 a.m. is God's way of getting our attention. He could be a little bit more respectful and do it a couple of hours later. That's all I'm saying. What about my needs? Just kidding.
What about me?
What about me? Huh? All right. Again, now we're going to leave for the 30th time. Victoria, thank you for being on the show. So much appreciate you. I love you all and take care. Bruce, don't cut me off when I'm talking.
Hey, I'm talking here.
Hey, I'm talking here. I love you all. Take care, everyone. We're going to be on not next Thursday, the Thursday after. What date is that? Somebody help me.
2 weeks from today.
Oh, geez.
Just subscribe to the show.
Social media, it'll be there.
Yeah, subscribe to the show and like the page, and you will be notified.
And buy the book.
There you go. That's easier. Just subscribe, and you're Gucci.
Yep.
Love you guys.
Be on.
Stay on. We'll talk after the show.
Okay.
And see you later.